The wild world of pro wrestling, the news never stops. Here are some of the biggest news stories going on right now. Vince McMahon's failed attempt. Netflix is just about to release the docuseries on the life and career of Vince McMahon. Bill Simmons, he served the executive producer. Chris Smith, he was the director. The series, titled Mr. McMahon, will debut on September 25th. There are 6 episodes that are 1 hour each, and they will all drop at the exact same time. And oh, this is going to be a crap show. WWE and Vince McMahon, they parted ways after former WWE employee Janelle Grant filed a lawsuit against the company, Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis, alleging sex trafficking and rape. She was not filmed for the project. McMahon, he came out with a statement on Monday, something rare these days, noting that he had been, quote-unquote, misrepresented in the doc. He said that Janelle Grant's lawsuit is based on an affair that he had, yet he ended it. Grant's lawyer, Ann Callis, she also came out with a statement of her own. Now, Puck, they reported that Chris Smith was nearly finished with the project, and then the hush money scandal broke in the summer of 2022. They really let the ball rolling on this whole thing. They added the scandal as well as McMahon's return to the company and eventual departure to the project. And according to the report, McMahon was nervous about the series after seeing early footage of it. This led to McMahon attempting to buy it back from Netflix, but they were like, dude, we have gold here. No. TKO CEO Ari Emanuel even lobbied Netflix on McMahon's behalf. They voiced concern about the docuseries and how it would treat the Mr. McMahon alter ego. Netflix obviously decided not to sell the project. Speaking with Netflix, or about Netflix, they were a little worried at one point because WWE signed a big money deal with the streaming platform to air Monday Night Raw starting in January, in addition to the WWE Network, moving there for international fans and probably most of the world in the United States once the Peacock deal's up. It was agreed upon years ago that Netflix would also air the McMahon docuseries that we just talked about. Now, ahead of the docuseries' release on Wednesday, McMahon obviously was not a fan of it. Now, while speaking on Wrestling Observer Radio, Uncle Dave Meltzer, he noted that there were people in Netflix who were, quote-unquote, trepidatious about doing business with WWE before the Grant lawsuit. He said, if you remember, the deal with Netflix was signed a couple of years before the Janelle Grant lawsuit. It was not like this big thing behind the scenes where everyone was drinking champagne about it. I mean, there were people on Netflix that were not high on the deal, but they signed it. They went with it. But there were people who were trepidatious about getting into business with WWE, and I think that if the lawsuit had been filed a month earlier, once the deal was signed, they were all excited and been announced. I mean, didn't back off because McMahon was gone. You know, it's like you got to remember the lawsuits were filed. They were signed, deal. It was announced a couple days later. The lawsuit's filed a day or two later. Vince is gone. So if Vince had stayed, would they have stayed with their deal with WWE? Who knows? Wanted to talk there from Uncle Dave. Daniel Garcia, this AEW star, he's got a lot of talk around this child. So at one point it looked like AEW, they would keep Daniel Garcia under contract despite having interest from WWE in his services. However, that confidence with AEW has taken a hit these days. Garcia returned to AEW programming during the MJF Will Ospreay international title match at AEW All In London, where Garcia cost MJF the big win. He later put over MJF at All Out before laying him out. And keep in mind that Garcia is yet to sign a new deal, and reportedly his deal is up in October 2024. And there is a lot of interest from WWE about signing him. So, Dave Meltzer noted that the latest on Garcia's status is they're simply not using him on television because Uncle Dave doesn't think, and rightfully so, why would AEW want to put a guy on television when his deal's about to expire within the month and potentially him go to WWE fresh off of AEW television? There's no real, it doesn't make sense for that to happen, so why put him on there? And if he was going to be under contract for years to come, then yeah, he would probably be on television, but that hasn't happened yet. It'll be interesting to see where things go from here. WWE SmackDown. What in the world is going on with this and the potential of 3 hours? WrestleVotes Radio first reported that SmackDown will move to 3 hours starting on January 3rd. However, the plan is to move to 2 hours in June 2025. USA Network is pushing for a third hour, just like they did with Monday Night Raw in 2012. Now, this comes after Raw is going to a 2-hour format starting in October before returning to a 3-hour format starting in January when they move to Netflix. WWE, keep in mind, they still have not announced what this third hour may or may not be with SmackDown. Now, Uncle Dave Meltzer, he noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that WWE is in talks with USA Network about adding a third deal with SmackDown. And when questioned about it by Brian Alvarez, Meltzer confirmed, yes, it's not a 100% done deal. It's a 50% chance it's going to happen. But it all comes down to money. Money, 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 money. That's how the world revolves, right? I think what happened was WWE signed off on a lesser deal for SmackDown. USA Network said, hey, we're willing to play ball if you increase it to 3 hours. Would you guys like to renegotiate on a new deal for a potential third hour? And that's exactly what's happening. Finally, Jey Uso, he made some history because on this week's episode of Monday Night Raw, Jey Uso did the unthinkable by beating Braun Breaker to win the Intercontinental title. This marks Uso's first singles title win in WWE. He earned the bout after winning a number one contenders Intercontinental title tournament that had played out over the last few weeks on Monday Night Raw. Breaker, he won the title from Sami Zayn at SummerSlam before retaining it on an episode of Raw in a best out of 2 out of 3 falls match in a rematch. So Uso made history as a result. Uso and Rikishi became the only second father-son duo in company history to both hold the Intercontinental Championship. Now, Kurt Hennig and his son, Curtis Axel, they also did that. Now, let's break it down here for a minute. So, Mr. Perfect, he held the Intercontinental title twice from April 1990 to August of 91, lasting a combined 404 days. Axel, on the other hand, won it in June 2013 to pay back when he won a triple threat over Wade Barrett and The Miz for losing it to Big E in November on an episode of Monday Night Raw, ending his reign as 155 days. Rikishi, on the other hand, he held the title in June 2000 for 2 weeks before losing it to Val Venus, and that was his only singles title in WWE.